After we got back together, I wasn't clingy with Ryan the way I used to be. I no longer asked him how long he'd be gone when he went out to eat, and I no longer got mad when he got close to female colleagues. Nor did I check his phone. Ryan finally couldn't hold it in anymore. I feel like you've changed. Why aren't you stuck to me like before? I looked up at him and said softly, didn't you say you found it annoying when I was too clingy and told me to be more independent? Isn't this what you wanted? He froze. Chapter 1. When I got Ryan's call, I had just changed into my pajamas. He seemed to have had quite a bit to drink. It was noisy on his side of the line, and I could vaguely hear someone talking. Damn, I've blown almost 7 figures on my girlfriend in the past 6 months, and she still won't come pick me up. Shit, Ryan, it's your turn. Hurry up and call. No way, my girlfriend's the only one who won't come. Give it a rest. Ryan's girlfriend is famous for how much she loves him. She chased after him for years before she finally got him. She used to call every time he went out to make him drink less. No matter how late it was, she'd come to pick him up. As long as Ryan asks, she'll definitely come. Sounded like the guys over there were betting again, one of those boring games about whether a girlfriend would come pick their boyfriend up or not. Ryan's tone was relaxed and amused as his voice came closer to the phone. Everyone shut up a bit, Camila. I'm drunk. Come pick me up. I answered calmly. I'm already in bed. Come back on your own. All the noise on the other end instantly vanished. Then someone whispered in shock. Holy shit. Ryan's girlfriend switched up on him. She used to come even when it was pouring rain. What happened? Ryan went quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, all traces of laughter were gone. Camila, you. I cut him off. I'm going to sleep. Hanging up. Then I stopped listening to whatever he was going to say and hung up directly. After we got back together, I hardly dreamed about the past anymore, but maybe because of the call I received today. Half asleep and half awake, I seemed to smell heavy rain again. It was the biggest storm in S-City in 2023. Ryan had gone out to meet friends, and I stared at the downpour outside the window, worried, and called him to tell him to drink less. Ryan's voice on the other end was cold and impatient. Got it. Stop calling. He still hadn't come back even after midnight, and he didn't reply to any of the messages I sent him. When I called again, his phone was already turned off. I panicked, terrified something had happened to him. I couldn't care less that it was pouring outside, grabbed my coat, and rushed out to take a taxi. On the way, the rain was so heavy the taxi's wipers couldn't keep up, and everything in front of us was almost a blur. A car suddenly shot out at an intersection and almost crashed into us. The driver rolled the window down and cursed. Where the hell are you rushing to? You idiot? Do you even know how to drive? He kept swearing under his breath the entire way. I was a little scared and gripped my phone tighter. From the south of the city to the north, it took an hour and a half. The rain was so heavy you could barely see the road. But in the end I finally made it safely to the restaurant where Ryan's gathering was. The wind drove the rain hard. Even with an umbrella, I was drenched. When I saw Ryan walking out of the restaurant, I let out a breath of relief and jogged toward him, just about to call out, Ryan. But when I saw the girl next to him, my steps slowly came to a stop. Helen was wearing Ryan's jacket over her shoulders. Ryan stood at her side. Under the lights, she stood in her thin high heels. Not a drop of rain on her. Her makeup and hair were flawless, and she was smiling as she chatted with Ryan. The gentle smile on Ryan's face vanished the moment he saw me. He frowned out of habit. What are you doing here? I looked up. Why didn't you answer your phone? I told you I was busy and to stop calling. Ryan frowned. What exactly did you need? I wanted to ask him, didn't he say this was a gathering with friends? Why was Helen here too? Helen was his childhood sweetheart. They had grown up together. They'd only gone their separate ways when Helen went abroad after the college entrance exams. Recently she'd returned to the country, and they got back in touch. From Ryan's friends, I heard that they had almost gotten together in the past. Ryan had liked Helen a lot back then, when she left the country. He even went to the airport in a heavy storm to chase after her. Ryan cared a lot about anything related to Helen. Not only did he hire her into his company, he often chatted with her. The Ryan who only replied to me in a few short words would chat with Helen until late at night. Whenever I asked him about it, he would answer impatiently, "We're only talking about work. She's not like you. She's outstanding and independent. Not like you." with nothing in your head except romance. Camila, do you have any idea how annoying you are like this? For Helen's sake. I'd fought with Ryan more times than I could count. I should have been angry, should have questioned him. But in the end I didn't say anything, I just wiped the rain from my face. I was worried something happened to you, so I came to pick you up. Helen smiled. Camila, you're not here to check up on him, are you? I've heard for a long time how tightly you keep tabs on Ryan. I finally get to see it for myself today. The guys behind her all snickered. I'll take Helen home. You go back first. Ryan seemed to feel embarrassed and didn't look too good. As he passed by me, he suddenly stopped, reached out, and took my umbrella. You're already soaked anyway. No need to use it. I stood there in a daze, watching him hold the umbrella over Helen instead. Helen leaned into Ryan's side, her red lips curling into a faint smile at me that was somewhere between pity and mockery. Camila, sometimes men are like sand in your hand. The tighter you grip, the quicker they slip away. Don't you think? Why are you telling her that? She wouldn't get it. Let's go. Ryan held the umbrella and walked away with Helen. I watched his car splash up sheets of water as it drove through the rain, the taillights disappearing quickly into the downpour. From beginning to end, Ryan never once asked how I got there, or how I was going to get home. One of his friends, unable to stand watching, spoke sympathetically. Sis-in-law, how did you get here? I'm headed that way. I'll take you. I stood there blankly for a moment, then lowered my head and used my sleeve to wipe off the water dripping from my hair. Thank you. I'll trouble you. Then, Chapter 2. Liking Ryan was something I simply couldn't help. The first time I met Ryan was at the convenience store where I worked part-time. A middle-aged man who had drunk too much was checking out, and because he thought I was too slow, he cursed a few times. Still not satisfied, he suddenly raised his hand, trying to hit me. Just when I squeezed my eyes shut and flinched back, a slender hand caught the fist coming toward me. I looked up. Under the white incandescent lights of the convenience store was a handsome face with a hint of youthful sharpness. The boy was wearing a black hoodie, his neck pale, even his Adam's apple beautiful and defined. In the blurred halo of light, I watched his flushed lips move as he spoke coldly. A useless piece of trash who gets bullied outside and can only take it out on a young girl? The man cursed and tried to fight back. But the moment the boy tightened his grip, the pain twisted his expression. He didn't dare say another word and stumbled out the door, still shaken. I stammered. Thank you. He simply said expressionlessly. No need. Then he picked up the bottle of soda he had paid for and turned to leave. After that, it didn't take much effort for me to find out that the boy who had helped me that night was Ryan, the most handsome guy in the finance department, same year as me. They said his family was very wealthy, and even a random piece of clothing he wore cost as much as my entire year's tuition. But he had a terrible relationship with his family and spent only the money he earned himself. He started writing software to sell in freshman year, and by sophomore year he had already opened his own company. He was the perfect combination of rich second generation plus self-made first generation. His resume as dazzling as his face. The more I learned about him, the more I liked him. Who wouldn't like a Ryan like that? I fell hopelessly in love, but I was keenly aware of the distance between us, so I only dared to watch him from afar. Those few minutes every night when he walked out of his company and came into the convenience store were the happiest moments of my day. Even being able to say just one sentence to him made me ridiculously happy. Until one day, I couldn't resist and paid for him. When he looked at me, I was so nervous I could barely speak properly. Thank you for helping me that day. He interrupted me expressionlessly, putting a bill on the counter. It was nothing. No need. My face blanched. Oh, okay. A lot of girls liked Ryan, but he had never dated anyone. I always thought it was because he focused entirely on work and had no time for romance, and so I began harboring a secret hope that maybe, as classmates, I could slowly get closer to him, and after we became slightly familiar, I finally began stepping into his life bit by bit. He had a weak stomach and often skipped breakfast, so I brought him breakfast every day. If it rained, I brought him an umbrella. When he played basketball, I washed his jersey. After getting closer, I learned his mother had literally been angered to death by the mistress his father brought home, so he completely cut ties with his family and hadn't returned for years. On every holiday meant for family reunions, I stayed with him because of that. For years I always rushed home only after the new year was over. Just like that. I stayed by his side for 3 whole years. And finally, after a New Year's Eve dinner with just the two of us, a drunken Ryan said hoarsely, "Camila, let's be together." No confession. No flowers. Not even the slightest romantic atmosphere. But I felt flowers explode in my heart. My eyes growing hot as I whispered, "Okay." For the 2 years we were together, I always went along with whatever Ryan wanted, even though he was always lukewarm toward me. I just assumed that was his personality. It wasn't until Helen came back that I realized even someone as distant as Ryan could still hold his phone and chat with someone late into the night, a smile lingering at the corner of his lips. I finally understood my own self-deception. So it wasn't that he couldn't love. He just didn't love me. Chapter 3. Ryan and I broke up because of something very ordinary. I was working overtime on a project until after midnight. On my way home alone in a cab, the driver said there was roadwork up ahead and he needed to take a different route. I didn't think much of it at first, but when I saw the roadside getting darker and darker, I started to feel afraid. The driver seemed to sense my fear and began to harass me verbally. "Pretty girl, what kind of work do you do? Getting off this late?" When I didn't answer, he grew annoyed and started mocking me bitterly. "You women have it easy making money. Just lie down, spread your legs, and the cash comes in. Unlike us, working our asses off every day for peanuts. How much do you charge a night? Sweetheart? I'll waive your fare and take you out for a late night snack. How about it?" I was terrified and called Ryan, but his line was busy the whole time, and the messages I sent him might as well have sunk into the ocean. My hands shaking, I pressed the one-key emergency call. A text quickly arrived on my phone. "You attempted to call 110. We have notified your emergency contact. Please try to avoid conflict. Stay away from danger, and keep in touch with the police." Completely useless. Thinking of similar stories I'd seen on the news, I sank into overwhelming despair. Gritting my teeth, I dialed 110 and said to the driver, "I called the police. I want to get out." The driver froze for a second, then snapped and spewed the vilest curses at me. "Are you fucking insane? You filthy bitch. I was just joking with you and doing you a favor. You stupid cunt." Fortunately, he still didn't dare actually do anything to me. He slammed on the brakes, stopped the car, yanked me out, and dumped me by the side of the road before stepping on the gas and driving off. On a freezing winter night, I stood alone in the pitch-dark weeds at the side of some deserted road in the outskirts. The signal in the suburbs cut in and out. I'd been afraid of the dark since I was little, and now I was so desperate I didn't know what to do. I held back my sobs and called Ryan over and over, but he never picked up. Maybe he was asleep, wiping away my tears. I called a friend. Luckily, she was still awake, answered my call, and hurried over to where I was. Unfortunately, my phone died. I don't know how long I was out there, but after a long time, my friend finally found me, standing by the roadside, freezing, terrified, and nearly fainting. When I got home, the lights were still on. I froze for a moment and pushed open the bedroom door. Ryan was on the phone, the corners of his eyes and brows soft with laughter. When he saw me, his expression returned to its usual neutrality. "Why are you back so late?" I said softly. "Ryan, I called you so many times. Why didn't you pick up?" He glanced at his phone and said matter-of-factly, "I was on a call." "What's wrong?" "Then what about my messages? Why didn't you reply to those?" Ryan frowned. "What exactly are you trying to say?" There was so much I wanted to say. I wanted to cry, to throw myself into his arms. I wanted to ask if he had any idea how scared I'd just been. I wanted to ask why he hadn't answered me. But in the end, all I said was, nothing. That night, after Ryan fell asleep, I opened his phone. He had been on a call for more than 3 hours. The person on the other end was Helen. No wonder his line had been busy and he never picked up my calls. I felt my fingertips colder than the screen as I opened WeChat. Pinned at the top was his chat with Helen. They didn't say goodnight to each other until late at night. I scrolled down. Below that was my chat window. When I opened it, I saw a little bell icon next to my name, with a line through it. No wonder Ryan never saw my messages. He had muted me. I didn't sleep the whole night. just staring out the window. Ryan was sleeping right next to me. I studied the face I had loved for so many years and finally realized that although we had been walking in the same direction all this time, no matter how hard I tried, I could never get close to him. This relationship had always been a mistake. Now, it was time to end that mistake. Chapter 4. Breaking up with Ryan didn't take much effort. I mentioned it in the morning, and he just looked up at me, as if he hadn't expected me to bring it up. Then the corners of his lips tightened, and he lowered his gaze. If you've thought it through, then fine. While I packed my things, he sat on the sofa without saying a single word. Breaking up with Ryan hurt exactly as much as I had imagined, even though I was fully aware he didn't love me. After loving him for so many years, letting go wasn't easy. Coincidentally, he became the client for one of our company's projects. After a dinner meeting, he unexpectedly walked over to me. "Where are you living now? I'll drive you." I didn't refuse. When we arrived at my place, his brows were knitted tightly, his left hand pressing against his stomach. "My stomach hurts. Can I go up and have some hot water?" But before we even reached my home, he pushed me against the wall in the dark staircase. I don't know who kissed whom first amid the chaos. All I know is that Ryan had plenty of energy that night, with no trace of stomach pain. When I woke up the next morning, he was leaning against the headboard, listening to the noises of the morning market outside, his expression not very pleasant. "I've given you money. Why are you living here?" "It's nice here." I paused. I liked the sense of everyday life. Large apartments and villas were nice too, but they felt empty, cold. "Move back." Ryan finally lowered his head. Rare for him. "Your friend told me what happened that night. That day. It was my fault. I won't ignore your calls again." I looked up at him, and suddenly I wanted to cry. Not from being touched or happy, but from sadness. I was sad to realize that I still loved him, even though that love was now so much smaller than before. It still wasn't completely gone, just because of a single sentence from him. I wanted to go back. I closed my eyes. Okay. After that, Ryan really did change like he said he would. He started replying to my messages, and he kept his distance from Helen, but the reconciliation I had hoped for never came. The worn-out parts of our relationship didn't heal. Instead, they only grew worse. The past wounds didn't disappear. I couldn't forgive Ryan. I couldn't treat him the way I used to. I stopped clinging to him. I stopped caring about him as meticulously as before. Instead, Ryan slowly became more attentive to me. For a time, it felt like our roles had reversed completely. Suddenly the door was pushed open. I jolted awake and saw Ryan standing by the bed. He reeked of alcohol, his expression dark, shoes still on. "What are you doing? What happened?" I sat up, frowning involuntarily. Ryan's voice was low and heavy. "Why didn't you pick me up today?" "What? Do you know everyone else's girlfriends were calling them, telling them to go home, even going to get them? You were the only one who didn't call me even once, and when I came home, you didn't wait for me. You always waited for me before, waited for me to sleep together." I don't know if it was my imagination, but I actually heard a trace of grievance in his tone. It was true, before. Whenever he went out for dinner, I would go pick him up. Even if I didn't pick him up, I would wait on the sofa with the lights on. I looked at him for a moment, then said calmly, "Weren't you the one who said I was too clingy, too annoying, and shouldn't keep calling you?" "Ryan, isn't this exactly what you wanted?" He froze, thinking he didn't understand. I explained, "That time I went to get you, you said I was annoying and told me not to worry about you anymore." "That's not what I meant." He stopped mid-sentence, speechless. "Don't worry." I turned away, curling back into the blanket. "I won't worry about you anymore." Ryan stood there for a long time but didn't say anything else. That night, the breathing beside me never steadied. Ryan tossed and turned, seemingly unable to sleep. I didn't pay him any attention and closed my eyes, falling asleep on my own. Chapter 5. After grabbing a ticket to go home for the new year, I called my mom. My mom thought I wasn't coming back again, and couldn't help complaining. "It's been years since you last came home for New Year. Your dad even bought your favorite local pork ribs this year. Froze them." and planned to wait until after the holiday when you came home to eat. I interrupted her. Mom, I'm coming home for New Year this year. The pork ribs smell amazing. You're coming back? My mom's voice instantly brightened, then turned worried again. What about your boyfriend? Didn't you say he'd be spending New Year alone? Why don't you bring him home with you? No need. I lowered my eyes. He has somewhere to go. All right. I'll start frying meatballs this afternoon, she said cheerfully. Tomorrow I'll have your dad pick you up. Sitting in the back seat of the car, I watched the scenery on both sides retreat rapidly. The small hometown city hadn't changed much after so many years. The shops lining the streets had hung red lanterns and the character foo. Children chased each other setting off firecrackers. Couples bundled in thick down jackets ate roasted sweet potatoes. I suddenly felt that the emptiness in my heart finally had somewhere to rest. My mom was happily chatting nonstop in the passenger seat, seeing the white strands in her hair at her temples. My nose suddenly stung, and a deep ache filled my chest. What had I been doing all these years? Neglecting my parents for a man, ignoring myself for a man. I suddenly woke up. Maybe what I felt for Ryan was love at first, but later it became an obsession. I couldn't accept that after giving so much. He still didn't love me. The sunk cost was too high. I was like a gambler already bleeding dry but still desperate to win one last round. And suddenly, I snapped out of it. My mom was still talking. The neighbor's daughter works at the local street office. She gets off work and goes home to eat with her family every day. Your aunt is already that old and still cooks for her every day. But in her eyes, it was unmistakably envy. I hadn't been home in a long time. The last time was only because my mom slipped and fractured her leg. And even then, I only found out because my dad accidentally let it slip. I rushed home and scolded my mom. Why didn't you tell me? My mom pretended nothing was wrong. Oh, you're busy with work. I'm fine. Really, it'll heal soon. The truth was, I never liked the big city. I had no grand ambitions. I stayed in S City all these years only because of Ryan. I thought for a moment and said, Mom, I want to resign and come back. From now on, I want to come home for dinner. My mom froze. Didn't you have a boyfriend? What about him? I looked out the window. It was snowing. I lowered the car window and reached out my hand to catch a snowflake, cool and damp. Maybe we'll break up soon. Chapter 6. When I received Ryan's video call, I was setting the table. My mom had made a whole table of New Year's Eve dishes. I wiped my hands and went to the balcony to answer the video call. On the screen, Ryan was actually wearing an apron. Behind him was a room filled with warm lights and a whole table of food. His expression carried a rare hint of embarrassment and anticipation. New Year's Eve dinner is ready. When are you coming back? As he spoke, he couldn't help complaining. What's wrong with your company? Working overtime on New Year's Eve? I'll come pick you up in a bit. I frowned. Only then did I realize the message I sent him this morning saying I had gone home probably didn't go through because of bad signal. I said softly, Ryan, I went back to my hometown. I'm not coming back for dinner. Ryan's smile froze. He stared for 2 seconds, then forced a casual tone. Right. You haven't gone home for New Year in years. It's good to visit. If your parents like anything, I should visit them tomorrow on New Year's Day anyway. No need. Camila, what are you doing? Hurry and come eat. My mom's calling me. Okay. Go then. Ryan stood quietly in place, even though the lights behind him were bright. In that moment he looked incredibly lonely. I knew Ryan probably wanted me to come back, but with his personality, he couldn't say it. Since we got together, he had never spent a New Year's Eve alone. Every year at this time, it was always me preparing everything, pasting the red foo character, putting up the couplets, cooking a whole table of dishes he liked, turning on the Spring Festival gala and eating with him, teasing him, trying to make him laugh. Although he always told me it wasn't necessary, I never got tired of doing it. I pressed down the habit of soft-heartedness. Someone like Ryan probably never liked lively celebrations anyway. Spending New Year alone probably didn't affect him much. I nodded. Happy New Year. I'm hanging up. On New Year's Day morning, my mom couldn't help nagging again. My colleague's second kid is almost in kindergarten already. And you've been with that man for years and still have no outcome. If you're breaking up, then break up sooner. She lowered her voice mysteriously. Mom recently met an excellent young man. I'll introduce him to you. I perfunctorily replied. My mom's so-called excellent was usually just stable job plus male. Her introductions were worse than praying at a temple. No. Really? This one isn't like the previous ones. My mom put down her chopsticks. The boy who just moved into the house next door, I already asked around. He's 2 years older than you. His family owns their own company. He's already taken over the business. Super handsome, handsomer than movie stars, and single. I tugged the corner of my mouth. Mom, how could someone like that be single? Either he's gay, or if he's rich, why on earth would he live here? Wouldn't a big villa be better? You'll know when you see him. He's a good kid. Last time the faucet broke, he was the one who fixed it. He said he likes the lively atmosphere here and moved in on purpose. My mom was probably getting fooled again. Maybe this was someone selling supplements or running a pyramid scheme. I was about to reason with her when the door suddenly knocked. Uncle, Auntie, it's me, Paul. I'm here to wish you a happy new year. You see how polite he is? Knows to visit for the new year. I know you don't believe me, just meet him. He actually came. What was even more absurd, I felt like his voice sounded familiar. I stood up and followed my mom to open the door. And when I saw that smiling face outside, I completely froze. Paul? What are you doing here? Chapter 7. Even when I was already sitting at the table eating with Paul, I still felt a little dazed. Paul was the friend Ryan left me at the restaurant for, the one who offered to take me home. Although he and Ryan were both from the same second-generation wealthy circle, unlike Ryan, he had a very good temper. Several times when Ryan embarrassed me in public, Paul stepped in to help me out. After that incident, we added each other on WeChat. Later, I even treated him to a meal to thank him, and during holidays we'd occasionally exchange greetings. Overall, we had a pretty good relationship, but he was a rich second generation. Why would he come to this small city and even live next door to my parents? My company has a hot spring resort project nearby. My dad told me to take charge first to practice. I think living here is great, the neighborhood feels lively, and the jianbing downstairs is amazing too. I asked curiously, you can really get used to living here? Paul smiled, on that face that could make 6 figures just by going bankrupt in modeling. He smiled wide, showing 2 rows of white teeth. When I get busy at the company, I sometimes don't even get to eat. But here? It's great. Uncle and Auntie take care of me, and Auntie's cooking is incredible. I come over every few days to get a good meal and improve my life. My mom was grinning from ear to ear, constantly picking food into Paul's bowl. What do you mean freeloading? If you like it, come eat often. Just don't bring anything next time. The things you brought last time. Your uncle and I haven't even finished yet. No wonder he managed the company so well at such a young age. That face plus this emotional intelligence equals absolutely lethal. He said sweetly, Auntie, these cola chicken wings you made are too good. Can you teach me how to make them? My mom waved her hand. Why would a company president learn this? Just have your chef make it for you. I want to cook for my future girlfriend. Auntie, you have no idea, finding a partner nowadays is difficult. If a man can't cook, young girls won't want him. My mom looked like she regretted she couldn't slap her thigh hard enough. She kept asking Paul, with conditions like yours, how are you still single? Are your standards too high? What kind of girl do you like? I knew my mom's matchmaking instincts were kicking in again, but forget Paul being Ryan's friend, his conditions were far better than mine. There was no possibility between us. Mom, I awkwardly tried to interrupt, but Paul enthusiastically said, Auntie, I like girls with big eyes, fair skin, preferably half a head shorter than me, someone who shares interests with me, someone I can talk to. My fingers froze. Every point he mentioned, I fit, and Paul and I did get along well. When I treated him to that meal, I thought it would be awkward, but it wasn't. We had a lot in common. I had a niche hobby of crocheting, making clothes and bags by hand at home. I never expected a man like Paul to also love crochet. He said it was stress-relieving, and whenever work became stressful, he would crochet something to reward himself. Later he even gifted me a moss green crochet rug he made himself. It was gorgeous. I loved it. Unfortunately, later Ryan threw it away. Maybe I was overthinking. My mom was looking at Paul like he was her future son-in-law. Completely smitten, she kept piling food into his bowl, and Paul played along, coaxing her. Those two were so close they looked more like real mother and son. Just when I thought the situation couldn't get more absurd, the doorbell rang. I exhaled in relief, quickly escaped from the table to open the door, thinking it was some relative coming to give New Year greetings. But the moment I opened the door, I froze. The second unexpected face of the day. Ryan stood outside carrying big bags, wearing a neatly pressed wool coat, hair gelled back. He was clearly dressed up carefully. He just opened his mouth to speak, but then he saw Paul inside. His smile vanished. "What are you doing here?" The situation was unbelievably complicated. I hadn't done anything wrong, yet I felt inexplicably nervous. Paul, however, showed no guilt at all. He raised a brow. "I'm here as a guest. But you, why aren't you spending the new year with your little childhood sweetheart? What are you doing all the way here?" My mom was also confused. "Camila, this is..." I opened my mouth. Emotions tangled. "Ryan." Ryan glanced at Paul, then curved his lips into a polite smile and added, "Hello, Auntie, I'm Camila's boyfriend." Chapter 8. I thought my parents would really like Ryan, but to my surprise, although they treated him politely, the distance they showed and the warmth they showed Paul were completely different. Ryan must have felt it too. He was never the type like Paul who could charm people. He could only watch Paul make my parents laugh nonstop. I understood my parents' attitude. During all the years I was dating Ryan, I never came home for the new year because of him, and Ryan never once suggested visiting my parents. He didn't care about me, so naturally he wouldn't care about my family. Of course my parents wouldn't have a favorable impression of him. Ryan was probably a little embarrassed, but he most likely knew he really hadn't done well these past years, so he could only stay silent. After the long meal finally ended, I pulled Ryan into my room. "Why are you here? Why didn't you tell me in advance?" Ryan lowered his head. "You said so many times that you hoped I could go home with you. Now that I'm here, I thought you would be happy. If it were before, I probably really would have been happy, but now I only felt annoyed. You should head back." I frowned. "This is a small place. No good hotels. You probably won't be comfortable staying here." Ryan looked at me for a moment. "When are you going home?" "This is my home." Ryan grabbed my wrist. "I mean our home. I know you haven't been back in years. It's fine if you want to stay here for a few days. I'll wait for you at home, okay?" I slowly pulled my hand back. "Ryan, I'm not going back." "Not going back?" he said softly. "What do you mean not going back?" "I want to quit my job and come back home." I avoided his eyes. "I don't want to stay in S City anymore." "Don't want to stay?" Ryan's expression darkened. "Then what about us? Long-distance relationship? Or," he said each word clearly, "you want to break up?" I had just opened my mouth to speak when the door pushed open. Paul was still wearing my family's little bear apron, those beautifully shaped M-shaped lips carrying a familiar smile. "What are you two whispering about?" "Auntie is calling you to come eat some fruit." "This has nothing to do with you," Ryan said coldly. "Paul, I'd actually like to ask, what exactly do you mean by coming to my girlfriend's house for dinner?" Paul's smile didn't fade. "Camila and I are friends. What's wrong with visiting a friend's house for a meal?" "Friends?" Ryan let out a cold laugh. "Funny. I didn't know since when you two became so close." "What? So being in a relationship means she can't have male friends?" Paul leaned on the doorframe. "I see you and Helen get along pretty well, don't you?" "Me and Helen have nothing going on." "Then Camila and I have nothing going on." Ryan's face completely darkened. "Paul, if you keep this up, we're done being friends." Paul shrugged. "No problem. I have plenty of friends. Losing you isn't going to matter." The atmosphere between the two men was getting more and more tense, so I quickly pushed Paul out. "I'll be out in a minute." Paul lowered his eyes to glance at me, then obediently left. Ryan, still furious, said, "I didn't know you two were this close enough for him to come eat at your house. And look at how your mom treats him. She practically sees him as..." He gritted his teeth. "When did you two even get close?" I replied calmly, That day when it rained and you left me alone at the hotel to take Helen home. He kindly sent me back. That's how we met. There's nothing between Paul and me. Don't be unreasonable. The moment these words came out, both Ryan and I froze. Those were his lines once, now they were reversed. You think he really sees you as just a friend? Ryan took a deep breath. I'm a man. Do you think I can't tell from the way he looks at you? Camila, do you know what kind of person Paul is? What kind of conditions he has? You think he'd seriously be with you? He just wants to have fun with you. The second he finished speaking, he realized he said something wrong. That's not what I meant. I lowered my head. Ryan, go back. Chapter 9. When Paul invited my whole family to the hot springs, I originally wanted to refuse, but my mom dragged me along forcefully. He reserved the biggest and most luxurious suite for my entire family, and the meals were all extremely exquisite. I felt embarrassed. You really spent too much. But Paul didn't mind at all. This is my family's business. It doesn't cost anything. The hot spring hasn't officially opened yet, so you and uncle and auntie can try it out first. If anything isn't good enough, I can fix it in advance. The hot spring resort was built to be very high-end. My parents were excited and played all day, going to bed early that night. It happened to be snowing outside. I couldn't sleep, and suddenly felt the urge to try what it felt like to soak in a hot spring under the snow. Large snowflakes floated down, glowing like sparks under the lights. In the cold air, I slid into the warm, almost hot water, shivering as every pore on my body slowly relaxed. After soaking for a while, the snow fell even harder. Feeling playful, I reached out toward the bank to grab a handful of snow, when suddenly I heard rustling sounds coming from the hot spring behind me. Startled, I shrank back into the water. Who? Me. Paul's voice sounded. I'm drinking over here. Didn't expect you to be here too. I brought sake. Do you want some? I was wearing a swimsuit and already felt a bit embarrassed. But Paul didn't come over. His footsteps faded for a moment, and then a wooden tray floated toward me from the upper stream. On it sat a bottle of sake and a delicate little cup. I really like this sake. Give it a try. Thank you. And that's how we ended up drinking together, separated by a cluster of trees. With snow falling all around us, we started chatting. At first it was small talk, but the more we drank, the deeper our conversation became. I felt more and more that I resonated with Paul. We thought the same on many things, and even our favorite movie turned out to be the same obscure one. Paul was probably drunk when he suddenly asked, "Why do you like Ryan so much? I thought you two had already broken up. Didn't expect you to get back together." I thought for a moment and told him how Ryan and I first met. I didn't know what exactly I liked about Ryan. Was it him as a person? Or the halo from when he saved me? Or maybe just years of stubborn attachment that I refused to let go of? Suddenly, Paul asked a question that stunned me. If the person back then had been me instead, would you have liked me just as much? As his friend's girlfriend, I felt his question was crossing a line, but I couldn't stop myself from wondering. If it had been him, would I have liked him? Probably, yes. Paul was so good. Who wouldn't like him? But I couldn't answer. My mind was a mess. I stood up. It's too cold. I'm heading back. But as soon as I stepped onto the snowy bank, I slipped on melted snow. My feet flew out from under me and I screamed as I fell backward. Before the freezing ground hit me, I landed in a warm embrace smelling faintly of cedar. Paul had rushed over too quickly. A branch scratched his face, and bright red blood slowly seeped down his pale skin, looking eerily beautiful in the dim night, almost like a ghostly charm. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Yeah, I thought he would let go, but he kept holding me. The cedar scent mixed with the warmth of the sake. Only then did I notice that Paul's eyes were a bit lighter in color than most people's, but now they seemed even darker. In the heavy snow, I felt as if the distance between us kept shrinking. I should have stepped away. But he was so warm. I didn't want to. His hand around my waist felt almost burning. Realizing this, I jerked and pushed him away hard. Paul froze, staring at me. "I'm leaving." I avoided his gaze, grabbed my robe, wrapped it around myself haphazardly, and turned to go. Behind me, Paul remained silent, saying nothing at all. Chapter 10. When I went back to the company to resign, my manager kept trying to persuade me to stay. You've always done well in this job. You're about to move up. Why quit so suddenly? Seeing that I was firm, she sighed and still approved my resignation. I had thought it through. I wasn't really suited for this job. Although the income was high and it looked respectable, the commute took more than 2 hours every day, plus overtime. Running around exhausted for so many years was truly too tiring. Going back to my hometown would mean earning less, but I wouldn't need to rent a place. The cost of living was low, and overall life would definitely be more comfortable. Next, it was time to break up with Ryan. I didn't expect that the reason for the breakup would come so quickly. When I got home, I happened to run into Helen walking out of the house. She was wearing a black YSL wool coat, sheer black stockings, and a pair of CL red-soled heels. Her eyes were red as she clutched Ryan's arm, speaking emotionally. "Ryan, do you dare say you don't like me? You told me yourself, you never liked Camila. You only stayed with her because I wasn't here, and you were moved by how good she was to you. You also said you liked me. Now that I'm back, why are you still with her? Why did you get back together?" Ryan said something impatiently. Helen cried like pear blossoms in the rain and went up on tiptoe to kiss him. At that exact moment, Ryan suddenly saw me. His eyes widened as he instinctively stepped back, pushing Helen away. He hurried to explain, "Camila, it's not what you think." Helen glanced at me, the corner of her lips curling into a mocking smile. "Ryan, do you dare say you never said you liked me? Do you dare say you never said she's plain from head to toe? Not your type at all? If she hadn't clung to you so desperately all these years, would you even look at her? Do you dare say, these years you weren't actually waiting for me?" Ryan roared, "Shut up. I'm not with you now and never will be in the future. I won't break up with Camila. Leave, and I won't be investing in your dad's company." Helen's eyes reddened. She bit her lip. "Ryan, you bastard." Then she rammed into me hard as she passed by and left. Ryan didn't even look at her. He walked straight toward me and grabbed my shoulders. "Camila, listen to me. It's not what you think. There's nothing between us. She only came today because her dad's company ran into trouble, and she wanted me to invest." I lowered my head. "Those things she said." Ryan paused. "I did say those things, but that was before. I don't think that way anymore. I only want to be with you now. There's really nothing between Helen and me. Please don't be mad." "I'm not mad," I said softly. "Don't say things in anger. I can explain everything." Ryan looked helpless. "I'm not saying anything in anger. I truly wasn't mad. If it were before, I probably would have been heartbroken and furious. But now, I honestly didn't feel anything. If anything, I even felt a kind of relief, thankful that he gave me a reason to break up." I looked straight at him. "Ryan, let's break up. I told you, there's nothing between us. I'm not breaking up because of her. I'm serious. I came back this time to quit my job and to break up with you. But didn't we already get back together?" Ryan raised his voice. "Camila, you said before that you changed. I've changed too. Haven't I been treating you better recently? Why do you still want to break up?" "I don't know." I laughed bitterly. "I really don't know." Ryan trying to keep me was something I had never dared to dream of before. Even the last breakup. If he had said these words back then, I probably would have continued loving him desperately. But feelings truly can be worn away completely. Loving him was something I insisted on for too many years. But falling out of love only took a moment. I really no longer had feelings for him. "I'm sorry," I told Ryan. "I'll move my things out today. From now on, I hope you can be happy." Chapter 11. After returning home, I heard from my mom that Paul hadn't come back recently. My mom was still feeling regretful, but I didn't think much of it. He probably moved away. Someone like him wouldn't stay here forever. I switched to a different company, and everything seemed like a fresh start. When relatives tried to introduce me to a blind date again, I hesitated for a moment but didn't refuse. Maybe this is the kind of life I should have. Finding an ordinary man, building an ordinary family, living an ordinary life. What happened with Ryan felt like a dream. Now that I'd woken up, I should return to the right path. The man my relative introduced me to arranged to meet at a cafe. First, I listened to him complain for a long time about how cafe coffee is all a scam and overpriced. Then he started bragging about how he knew this person and that person. How extensive and powerful his connections were. He must have finally gotten thirsty. Took a sip of coffee and looked at me. I think the old rules passed down by our ancestors are still right. Men should work outside. Women should handle the home. In the future, I'll work hard outside, and you just need to take care of the family. I thought for a moment, so I don't need to work and will just be a housewife? The man wagged a finger. No. I'm not asking you to earn a lot of money. But people shouldn't be idle. You still need to work. I couldn't bear it anymore. Sorry. I don't think we're suitable. He raised a brow. What part isn't suitable? I think you're pretty good. I paid the bill and was ready to leave, but he blocked my way. Say it clearly. What part do you think is not suitable? Camila, what are you doing here? My shoulder was suddenly wrapped by an arm. I widened my eyes and looked up to see Paul's smiling gaze. And you are? The blind date man was stunned. I'm her boyfriend. And you? Paul raised a brow. Expression unfriendly. He was nearly 9 meters tall, a whole head taller than the blind date. The man didn't dare start a conflict and stepped back, muttering curses as he left. Having a boyfriend yet coming on blind dates. Crazy. I frowned and pushed Paul away. What are you doing? You're ruining my reputation. Who would dare introduce me to a blind date in the future now? I'll make it up to you. Paul lowered his head to look at me. I didn't understand. What? You're looking for someone to marry, right? I think my conditions are much better than that guy's. Why don't you consider me? I bit my lip. Can you stop joking? How am I joking? You already moved away, and you won't stay here in the future. I don't have time to play this ambiguous game with you. Wait. Paul grabbed my wrist. Who told you I moved away? I only went back because the project needed a report. I've already moved back. Tonight I even told your mom I'd go over for dinner. I froze. After a long while, I looked conflicted. Why? Why would you do that? I really didn't understand why Paul would go this far. We did get along, but nowhere near the level of romantic feelings. He had no reason to like me. Paul seemed to have noticed. He openly admitted, actually, I've liked you for a long time. I've been waiting for you and Ryan to break up. Last time you broke up, I wanted to pursue you. But you two got back together too fast. Now that you've broken up again, I can't keep waiting. But why? I was confused. Paul and I didn't have many interactions. Back when I was with Ryan, we had eaten together a few times. But after that we barely stayed in touch. Do you remember the time Ryan was drunk and I took him home? Paul looked out the window. You weren't asleep. You were waiting for him on the sofa. When you saw he was drunk, you were so worried. You helped him take off his shoes, his coat, wiped his face, and cooked hangover soup for him. At that moment, I thought, Ryan is really lucky. Someone is waiting for him this late. He smiled faintly. I've always had everything growing up. I've almost never felt jealousy. But that night, I was suddenly extremely jealous of Ryan. I thought, if only that light was left on for me. Paul let out a soft laugh. After that, I paid attention to you. Any gathering Ryan attended, I tried to go too, hoping to see you. Later, when I finally got the chance to walk you home, I realized the more time I spent with you, the more I liked you. He looked straight at me, expression solemn. Camila, I genuinely like you. I've liked you for years, enough to know exactly how I feel. I've already decided to build my career here. I'm not playing around. My fingers around my coffee cup stiffened after being frozen in place too long. I never expected that during all the years I was loving Ryan. Someone else had been quietly loving me too. Paul had no need to lie. A man like him could have any woman he wanted. He had no reason to spend so much effort on someone as ordinary as me. My heart was a mess. You, let me think about it. Paul gazed at me seriously. I won't force you to be with me right away. I just hope that, if one day you're ready to start a new relationship, I can be your first choice. Chapter 12. When I saw Ryan at the company, I thought I was seeing things. The coworker next to me tried hard to suppress the excitement in her voice. This is our new boss. The day before yesterday he bought our company. I heard his family is super rich. And he's still single. Can you believe it? TSK. I was absent-minded the whole day, but luckily Ryan didn't do anything out of line. Until after work, when I stepped into the elevator, the doors opened, and there was only one person inside, dressed in a suit, tall and handsome. Ryan looked at me in silence. If I turned and left now, it would look way too deliberate. My steps faltered for a moment, but I still walked into the elevator. I had just reached out to press the button when Ryan spoke. Camila, what do you actually want? My hand paused. What? Ryan closed his eyes briefly. I know I wasn't good to you before. From now on, I'll consider your feelings. I'll stop contacting Helen and keep my distance from other women. I'll care about you more. Look after you more. Everything I did wrong, I'll change. Suddenly, he pulled a ring out of his pocket, dropped to one knee, his expression deadly serious. Camila, whatever you want, I can give it to you. Let's get married. This time I was truly stunned. Are you crazy? All these years we'd been together, it wasn't like I'd never thought about marrying Ryan. It was the extravagant wish I dreamed of, but never dared to say out loud. I knew Ryan wouldn't want to marry me. In fact, all these years he had never once mentioned marriage, nor had he ever come home with me to meet my parents. You like it here, so we'll live here in the future. I've already bought a place. From now on I'll manage the company remotely. I was the one who did things wrong before. I'll go see your parents and apologize in person. Let's get married, okay? He repeated himself again. If this had been before, I probably would have gone crazy with happiness. But now I took a step back, only finding it absurd to the point of ridiculous. Back when I wanted it, I begged in every way and still couldn't get it. Now that I've let go, it delivers itself to my door. So what did everything I gave before even count for? What do you want? Ryan held up the almost blinding diamond ring, jewelry, custom wedding dress, rings. I can give you all of it. The house is fully decorated according to your taste. Didn't you really want to marry me before? Camila, can't we just be good to each other? Why? I couldn't understand. Ryan tried to slip the ring onto my finger. Camila, we've been together so long, and we're a good match. It's such a pity to throw this relationship away so easily. As Ryan's expression slowly turned cold, I gently pulled my hand back. Ryan, when I liked you, I wanted everything. But now that I don't like you anymore, whatever you give me, I don't want it. The elevator doors opened. I had never imagined this sentence would come out of my mouth. Let's part ways peacefully. Chapter 13. Paul really did move back just as he said he would. And my parents liked him so much they practically treated him like their own son. He came to my house for dinner almost every night, and my mom would even cook the dishes he liked on purpose. He never came empty-handed, but he also never brought anything extravagant, just food or daily items. Every time, he managed to coax my mom into grinning from ear to ear. After dinner, she would urge us to go for a walk to digest the food, and I knew she was trying to create opportunities for us. At first, I felt a little embarrassed, but as time passed, I gradually got used to it. The winter nights were freezing, and my hands hurt from the cold. I couldn't help blowing warm air onto them. Paul glanced at me, opened his coat, and gestured. Feel this. I instinctively glanced downward. Are you insane? What are you thinking? Paul said as he stuffed my hand directly into the inner pocket of his coat. My face flushed, and I was about to pull my hand back when I touched something hot and soft. When I pulled it out, it turned out to be a steaming roasted sweet potato. I didn't know whether to be more shocked that he somehow produced a roasted sweet potato out of nowhere, or that he was storing it inside an expensive coat worth tens of thousands. When we passed by earlier, I saw you staring at it, Paul said with a grin. Their roasted sweet potatoes are really good. I used to buy one every time I walked by. Try it. Holding the warm sweet potato, my snow boots crunching on the ground, and the street beside us glowing orange from the headlights reflecting on falling snow, I suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of peace. Don't just eat it yourself. Let me try a bite, Paul said, stopping in his tracks, feeling embarrassed. I said, I'll just buy you another one. I want this one. Paul lowered his head and took a bite right next to the teeth marks I had left, smiling with a meaning I couldn't quite decipher. It's really sweet. Maybe it was because we were standing so close, or because the sweet potato was steaming hot. but I felt my face heating up. A warm hand closed around mine. Still cold? This time, I didn't pull away. Everything seemed to happen so naturally. The snow drifted down in thick, silent flakes, and for the first time, winter felt warm. When we reached the entrance of my building, Paul pulled me back. "You're going back already?" I looked up blankly, and Paul smiled as he wrapped his coat around me. Under the dim light of the street lamp, his kiss fell with the snow, cool at first, then melting softly. I felt my heart melting just like the snowflakes. It lasted only a moment. Paul's expression suddenly shifted. His gaze moved past me, and the smile vanished. I turned around. Ryan stood in the snow with an umbrella. No one knew how long he had been watching. After several seconds that felt both short and painfully long, he finally spoke. His voice was colder than the snow. "So this is why you were so determined to break up with me? Because of him?" Chapter 14. I received the call from the police station while I was at work, informing me that Ryan and Paul had gotten into a fight. I was stunned. I hung up the phone and rushed straight there. The moment I stepped inside, I saw both Ryan and Paul sitting on the chairs in the mediation room, messy, bruised, and refusing to look at each other. There was a gash on Ryan's temple that was still oozing blood, and his cheekbone was swollen. Paul's lip was split, and there was a scrape on his face. His expression, normally cold and composed, completely changed the instant he saw me. His eyes reddened, and he covered his mouth pitifully, mumbling through the pain, "Camila, he hit me, it hurts so much." Ryan exploded. "Paul, are you even a man?" From the officer and other people present, I finally pieced together the story. Paul had gone out for a business meal, and by coincidence ran into Ryan at the same restaurant. One word led to another, and the two of them ended up throwing punches. To think that last night Ryan had walked away without saying anything, I thought he had finally let things go. Turns out he hadn't. Not even close. The officer tried to mediate. "You're both grown men. Fighting out of jealousy? You're not kids anymore. His injury qualifies as minor harm. If you don't agree to mediate, someone's getting administratively detained. Since you all know each other, decide for yourselves whether you want mediation." Because Paul had been wearing a ring, the punch he threw at Ryan's temple had caused a laceration that officially counted as minor injury. Ryan pressed a piece of gauze to his temple, eyes dark and fixed firmly on me. "Camila, talk to me. If you do, I won't press charges against him." "As if I'm scared of you pressing charges." Paul jabbed a finger at Ryan's nose. "Camila is my girlfriend. Trying to steal her from me? No way. She was my girlfriend." Seeing them about to start round 2, I finally snapped. I stepped between them and pushed them apart. Turning to Paul, "You go home first. I'll talk to Ryan." Paul's eyebrows shot up. He was about to argue, so I softened my tone. "I'll be back soon. Wait for me at home." Only then did he reluctantly let go. Before leaving, he didn't forget to threaten Ryan. "If he bothers you, call me. I'll beat him up again." Ryan glared at him. "Idiot." Ryan and I found a quiet spot by the sea. He went to buy a few cans of beer. In winter, the beach in my hometown is completely deserted. Wind whipped the waves against the dark rocks, bursting into white foam. I've always loved the sea. I had begged Ryan many times to come back with me before. He would always brush me off, saying he was busy. I never expected that the day we actually watched the sea together would look like this. I laughed softly and shook my head, pulled the tab on the beer can, and took a sip. Cold and bitter. Ryan had already finished one can and crushed the empty can with his hand. "I used to think I didn't like you." The sea wind roared, lifting his black hair. "I just felt that you were always there." I felt a little moved, and maybe a little pity. "I thought I didn't like you. I thought I was the kind of man who would like someone like Helen." I knew all of this already. I stayed silent and kept drinking. Later, when you broke up with me, I didn't think much of it either. Living alone wasn't bad. I didn't feel sad. Until one night, I came back from dinner with friends, and I saw the lights were off. The apartment was empty. In that moment, I suddenly felt my heart go empty too. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. "I always thought I was smart, but in the end I didn't even understand what I really wanted." That was when I realized, the one who couldn't live without the other wasn't you, it was me. The wind was too strong. My voice came out rough. "Too late. Not because we already broke up. Not because I'm with Paul now, but because I don't love him anymore. Feelings were away day by day, night by night. By the time he finally turned back, I had no strength left to walk toward him again. Ryan laughed bitterly. I know, the way you look at me has changed. Camila, you don't like me anymore. Do you? It's okay. You waited for me all those years. This time, I'll wait for you. I smiled. There's no need. I knew very clearly, I truly didn't love him anymore, and I would never go back. Ryan's voice was serious. That's my choice. You don't have to want me, but I'll wait. We didn't say another word. After we finished all the beer, I turned to leave. Behind me, Ryan's voice came, and maybe it was the wind, but it trembled. Camila, you really don't have even one thing left to say to me? I turned around and smiled at him. Ryan, I don't love you anymore, but I wish you happiness. Loving someone is a beautiful thing, even if the ending isn't good. I never regretted loving him. Ryan stood still, like a statue carved in the wind. Camila, if you don't love me, then why did you get back together with me? I'll wait for you. If he makes you unhappy, come back. I turned away and ran toward the shore. The wind lifted my hair. I ran faster and faster, feeling like I could fly. The mismatch in me and Ryan was destined from the beginning. If I didn't leave him, he wouldn't love me. But by the time he loved me, everything was too late. This fake reconciliation was nothing more than the start of an inevitable breakup. I don't know if being with Paul will make me happy. Feelings change instantly. Maybe one day we'll face the same ending. But I know this now. I finally have the courage to leave someone. I don't need another person to make me happy. From now on, I will make myself happy.